I want to tell you about this new power supply we've got for the IC705. It looks quite big behind me, doesn't it? In actual fact, it's quite small.
Alpha Lima, Denmark Germany 7, Lima Alpha Lima, calling secure 20.
9041 in Juliet Oscar 01.
All ready to go, blooming wasp there, and we're already on 40 metres. It's going to be some great fun. Well, it was great fun indeed. That was an excerpt from a video I did about 2 months ago now. It was the first live demonstration of the IC705 on the air by a UK dealer. So welcome to the Waters of Stanton video channel once again, and I'm glad you could join me. I'm going to talk about a couple of accessories which I think might interest you, but after that I'm going to talk about the Auto ATU and the IC705. You know, I've had quite a few comments, about 50-50. Some will say, well, why didn't Icom put an Auto ATU in the IC705? And others will say, well, so what? I'll provide my own Auto ATU. So let's have a chat about that. But first, why don't you make a cup of coffee like me, and then we'll come back and chat about it. Right, now before we get on to the antenna tuner, there's a couple of accessories that I want to tell you about, which I think you may well be interested if you've got an IC705 or if indeed you're considering buying one. The first one I want to show you is a power supply. It's a very small power supply that really could fit into your pocket. AC power supply which will easily power the IC705. It's called the Pro Audio KX33, originally designed for Elecraft's KX3, but now there is an adapter lead so that you can run that IC705 from the AC mains very easily, very portable, great to take around with you. Let's measure it and see how long it is. Put a tape measure on there. It's about 11 centimetres long. That's pretty small. Look at my hand. That's how small this power supply is. We've got a lead to go straight into the back of the IC705, and that power supply will run the IC705 at 10 watts for as long as you like, FM, CW, SSB, whatever you like. It's a great accessory and it runs cool as well, so there we are. Oh, it's the great outdoors. Winter is coming, unfortunately. We're in autumn at the moment. Now if, like me, you do a bit of motorhoming or camping or whatever and operate portable, then this next product might interest you. It's the Icom Al-705. It's a magnetic loop that covers 40 through to 10 metres. Now I currently don't have one available, but I've been speaking to Icom UK and they're going to let me have one as soon as they get them in. The great attraction of this is that it's very compact and it's very easy to deploy. Now I have used a similar one, the Alex Loop, which actually I think we've still got in stock, and that works extremely well. The Al-705 works on exactly the same principle and it looks to be very similar in size. The great thing about it is not only is it small in size, but it also packs down into a very small case. So it's easy to carry around with you, and it doesn't require any earth, it doesn't require any ground plane. All you need to do is deploy it and plug it into the IC705. And the other good thing about it is that it doesn't need an ATU. Now that's going to take me on to the main topic of conversation of this video. It doesn't need an ATU because once it's resonant, then it provides a very low VSWR and it's very easy to resonate. You just turn a knob as far as I can see and you just watch the meter on the 705 and you'll see the meter go down to virtually a perfect match. It'll handle up to around about 20 watts I believe, so you're going to have no problem at all with the 705. And these magnetic loops are very efficient and also have quite low noise properties. So It looks like an interesting product, and as soon as I've got one, I'll do a demo for you. Now we come to the question of the auto ATU, or lack of it. And I've had quite a few comments over the last, well, probably the last couple of months really. Some saying, why did Icom not put an auto ATU into the IC705? And probably an equal number that really didn't see that as a major problem. Well, the fact is that Icom didn't put an auto ATU into the IC705, and as far as I know, they never actually said they were going to. Certainly my conversation with the importers was such that they never were told that there was going to be an auto ATU in the IC705. Now, in actual fact, it's in quite good company. Yaesu produced the FT817 many years ago now. It's been going on for goodness knows how many years, and it doesn't have an internal auto ATU. And they announced the FT818, and I was convinced that they would probably put an auto ATU into it, but they didn't. They just added an extra watt and the 5 megahertz band. So even now the Yaesu offering for the portable QRP market doesn't have an internal ATU. And even Elecraft with their famous KX3 and more recently the KX2, they're sold without internal ATUs. Now I grant you that you can pay extra to have the auto ATU included, but it's not included as standard. So in that respect, Icom aren't really that much out of step. And in fact, in some ways, they're more in step because they did produce the IC703 a good few years ago now, and that did have an internal ATU. That was the 10 watt version of the 706 really, although it didn't cover 270. But anyway, it was really aimed at the QRP and I suppose portable market. I had one myself for some while, and it did have an internal ATU. But there was a limitation, and that was that the internal ATU of the 703 wasn't wide ranging. It was really designed for coax cable. And that really is one of the things that you do need to bear in mind. A lot of the internal ATUs are really primarily aimed at coax cable. They haven't got a great range, and they certainly shudder at the thought of an end-fed wire. So there are limitations. I think a lot of those that have been disappointed with the absence of an auto ATU perhaps don't fully appreciate that an internal auto ATU might not have really solved the problem that they envisaged, and that was to go out portable one sunny Sunday afternoon and operate with an end-fed wire or something similar like that. Most auto ATUs or internal auto ATUs don't work like that. KX2 and KX3 internal auto ATUs do work extremely well, and they will handle end-fed wires. So I'm not going to sit on the fence. I'm going to say that really and truly the absence of an internal auto ATU will have certainly kept the price down of the IC705. And that enables you to actually buy an external auto ATU, which probably is more suitable for what you want. So anyway, let's just take a look at the options with the IC705, or indeed a lot of other low power rigs. If you're going to use a resonant antenna with a coax feed, then you don't want an auto ATU. Now, I'm not a great fan of dipole antennas with lots of coax cable to portable work because it becomes cumbersome. It's difficult to erect satisfactorily. It means to say that you've got to have really either a centre support or two well-placed supports either end, which you're unlikely to find in a portable operation. So you could use vertical antennas. You could use something like the buddy stick, which again is resonant and therefore doesn't need an antenna tuner. There are a number of other vertical antennas that you can use. MFJ do a full-size vertical for 20 meters, and provided you've got radials, and of course you do need some sort of ground or radials for vertical systems, again you don't need an antenna tuner. Now, I've already mentioned the AL-705, which is a loop tuner which is just about to be released, and obviously with the name of AL-705 it obviously is aimed at the 705, but of course not exclusively. A loop will work with any transceiver, but again it's a resonant antenna and doesn't need an antenna tuner. And if you watch this channel regularly, you will know that I'm a great fan of the end-fed half-wave because it's such a simple antenna. It's multi-band and it only needs a short length of coax cable to go back to the matching unit, and that matching unit is quite simple to make and they're readily available. So you could have, for example, 60 odd foot of wires. Let's talk in meters. You could have 20 meters of wire with a matching transformer at the end and a short length of coax cable going back to your IC705. That will cover 40 meters, 20 meters, 15 meters and 10 meters. And if you really want to go short, like a 10 meter length of wire, that will cover 20 meters and 10 meters. And there are various other combinations that you can come up with as well, which again are resonant antennas. So in many ways, there's not such a great need for an ATU as you might think. But let's look at the random wire situation, because there are times when that is it's a handy option, an interesting option, and one you might like to try. Clearly you do need some antenna tuner. Now you can use a manual tuner. MFJ do some small manual tuners and they work quite well, and it's not too difficult to adjust them. And then you've got a random end-fed wire which will go into your 705. The only antenna tuner that I really have found that will match an end-fed wire almost any length, provided it's more than about 15 or 20 foot long, is the Elecraft T1A, which is a tiny auto ATU. It will handle up to 20 watts and it'll match anything. And I've used it on many occasions over the years to match an end-fed wire, and it works extremely well. It's very quick. It uses an internal PP3 battery. The relays latch and only draw current whilst they're adjusting, so that PP3 battery will last a long time. There is now a Chinese ATU on the market. I think it's called the AT705. Well, it would be, wouldn't it? I haven't looked at that closely yet. I suspect that it has its limitations in terms of what impedances it can match, but until I have a chance to have a look at one, I'm not going to comment any further on that. And of course, if you're a VHF operator, then antenna tuners don't really come into it at all. Diamond do a very nice little 2-meter Yagi and also a 77 Yagi, very lightweight, sort of things you could put into the boot of the car, put on the end of a 10 or 15 foot mast on the top of a hill and have a great time. I haven't as yet had an IC705 that I can take the back of to have a look, so I don't really know what room there is inside if they wanted to put an auto ATU in there. As I said at the outset, my reservation would be that it may well not have the matching capabilities that some would wish for, and therefore it's better that it's not in there, and therefore you don't pay for it, and that you then have the choice of doing what you want. And as I said, I think I've explained, there's a lot of choices where you don't need an antenna tuner, and the actual radio, the 705, has got quite a nice metering system in it, so it's very easy to check the SWR and make the adjustments. So in summary, I think on balance, the fact that the 705 hasn't got an ATU in it will have kept the price down. I mean, I would think that you would put an extra £200 on for an internal ATU. A lot of customers will not want an internal ATU, and therefore that's a significant saving. And I think that if you're going to use this radio out in the field, which I suspect is why a lot of people want the ATU, then you do have to make sure that the ATU that you ultimately get will do the job, and perhaps you might want to rethink things and consider using an antenna which doesn't need an antenna tuner. I think if you're operating portable, then the less number of adjustments you have to make is welcome. The less number of bits of gear you need to take are welcome. From my own personal experience, I've used the buddy stick and it's a good antenna. But if you really want to get some good solid contacts, you can't do better than a full-size antenna, and we come back to the end-fed half wave. But otherwise, the magnetic loop is good. I've used the Alex loop, that works extremely well, and it's incredibly small when it's packed down. And I've also used the buddy stick, which I've mentioned before. That's a very popular antenna and it works very well. So I hope that I've sort of covered, I mean, these are my views. You may disagree, and that's fine. But these are my views, the way that I've thought it through. And I think if nothing else, perhaps it's given you some further food for thought. As usual, thank you for watching this video channel. I hope it's been helpful. Do appreciate you clicking on or tuning into this channel. Don't forget to click the subscribe button, and don't forget, of course, that we have a very active ham radio facility in Portsmouth. Unfortunately, it's still closed in terms of the shop for reasons which I've covered before, but we do offer a very good and fast mail order service. You can always pick up the phone and speak to one of our sales guys if you've got any questions. You go onto our website and order that way. Either way, you'll get a good deal from us. So in the meantime, again, thanks for watching and speak soon.